Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I am Jessica Bunbutton.
Welcome to our reaction and review for The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 8. How good was this episode? This, to me, I'm not saying that's perfect, but to me, this is probably my favorite episode of this show. Not just in this season, but probably over the past couple of seasons. I just found it so intense, so fulfilling. It's one of the few experiences I've had watching TV this year where I really just felt like, and I know it's such an overused phrase, that like I was on the edge of my seat. I was just like, okay, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen? I was just so engrossed.
It was so intense. I have my red on for the Gilead Red Wedding today. It was so intense. Like, before going into this episode, I was hoping like the cake was going to be poisoned. Everybody was just going to die at the wedding. It was just going to be like Red Wedding Massacre. The way that they delivered it instead, it was a 10 out of 10. I loved it. I loved all the planning. I loved watching all the handmaids handing each other knives, all of them slipping their cake under their seats. It was so good. And it just came together in a way that I didn't expect. I love it when writers surprise me and they give me something that exceeds my own expectations. I was not disappointed.
Yeah, the writers cooked with this one, where it's like, I would have been immensely satisfied if we got the cake idea, and I was immensely satisfied by what we got here as well. Like, they just came up with some really good stuff, had some really fascinating twists, and some moments that were just legitimately moving. The entire sequence, we'll get more into it with Aunt Lydia and everything that happens there with Janine showing up. Like, that got me choked up in a way that I have not been choked up watching this show in a really long time.
Absolutely.
We have so much to get into if it was not obvious already. But before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button because, yeah, we know we are very much in the home stretch of The Handmaid's Tale now, but we have more previews, more reviews, more theories, all sorts of good stuff still we're going to get into here. We don't want you to miss that. In addition to our coverage of The Last of Us Poker Face, which just kicked off and is really, really good so far, and we have coming up down the road here Dexter Resurrection, Alien Earth, and so much more.
Absolutely. So hit that subscribe button. It really helps us here at the channel. We will be back covering the Testaments whenever that ends up coming here. We don't know yet. There's no real timeline on that yet. But if you hit that subscribe button, you can stick with us. No spoilers from the Testaments, please, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has not been spoiling the Testaments for us. We have not read the books. We have lots of people here who have also not read the book, so we really appreciate that. You guys have been just aces. And also, you can follow us over on our Patreon. Over there, we are covering Criminal Minds. We have Murderbot coming up as well this week, and it is the only place that you can get those video reviews. So thank you so much to everyone who is over on our Patreon.
Thank you, guys. We really, really appreciate that.
Oh my God.
Okay.
When they rolled out that huge red cake, I almost died. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know that it was going to sort of be like a sleeping potion or agent that was going to have everybody go to sleep, and that the plan was really that then all the handmaids were going to go to all the commanders' houses and kill them all. I was just like, I didn't know how it was going to play out. At that point, I was still kind of like, are they going to poison everybody here? Or the knives just like extra insurance for the people who don't eat cake, that they're like, okay, we'll take them out with the knives. But man, they rolled that cake out and it was red, and I was like, here we go.
Well, this was what was...
I didn't even have an inside voice anymore.
Well, this was what was so, I know it's weird to say fun in relation to the show because the show's really dark, but that's sort
Clap for death.
We are clapping for death this week, but this was what was exciting about how they really established this throughout the episode, is that we constantly had this sentiment of, oh, is this where it's going to go down? Is this where it's going to... Because, I mean, first that we had the cake showing up. We had, the handmaids all handing out their knives. We had all these different individual moments. And so we were kind of constantly left thinking, okay, at any given second, everything is going to go right, to the point where like somebody drops something amidst the sea of handmaids and it's already like, oh no, something has gone wrong. Like, this is going to be where they act. This is where they have to act. But it was so smart to have this basically be, a pun intended here, a sleeper agent, this cake.
Yes.
Because this was allowed everybody to let them all have cake, without anybody knowing that there was a problem right away, that it wasn't that fast acting. So it
Mhm.
gave them a little bit of cover later on, and it also helped to maybe subvert any potential accidents where maybe the wrong person has some cake or whatever, and then it's like, okay, we're not taking out anybody who we feel doesn't deserve to be taken out.
Yeah, because they weren't going to know exactly who was going to be at the wedding. We saw
Yeah.
in the comments a few guys concerned to be like, what if there are the kids at the wedding and they eat the cake? Of course they're going to eat the cake. I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't really see any kids at the wedding, but at the same time, that's a valid concern. We don't know who's going to be at this wedding or who's not. And the handmaids probably don't know who's going to be there or not there either. So this was absolutely the most brilliant plan to be like, oh, okay, let's say the wrong person eats some cake. They'll just have a nap and
Yeah.
then they'll wake up and, the commanders will be dead. So it'll be great.
It'll all be fine. It'll all be taken care of. It's just, even seeing everybody in the Handmaid's outfits, it really felt like a throwback, but also a very
Yes.
different sort of throwback because, yeah, they're all wearing these uniforms that we associate with all these just deeply traumatic things. But here, they're coming into this from this position of greater power. We're all unified. We know something that you people do not know. And it really kind of made every event that happened from there on out all the more exciting. And okay, I'm trying to think of a proper title to give Serena in this episode. I don't know if it should be she's the oh no consequences MVP or if she's just the MVP of unintentional, I don't want to say comedy, but just awkward, because she does this whole speech at this wedding in front of these handmaids that is the most sanctimonious,
Oh
like
my
holier
God.
than thou. Look how, listen, guys, I'm coming over here to let you know I'm going to make everything better. It reminded me of an episode of Veep where you had Julia Louis-Dreyfus just have a bunch of people show up at some like rally that she's giving to tell them that she's going to give them tax rebates or something, and then she goes back to, ironically, Jonah Ryan, and she's then basically being like, okay, we're not actually giving them anything, we're just selling them all there, get the bleep out of here. It was just so ridiculous, and Serena made my eyes roll out of my head.
The whole episode, even the huge wedding, they're sitting up on their thrones like they're kings
I
and queens.
know.
Nick is giving the ceremony. Then you've got her, oh, I'm going to go, talk to the handmaids. We're going to do a group picture. We're going to take your veils down so we can see all your beautiful faces. I'm like, stop it. Like, you're making them wear them now. Like, oh, how nice of you. And of course, it's at that moment that we're all like, oh no, June has to take her
I
veil
know.
down. That's not going to be great. But the thing that really just made my whole face roll was Serena taking that moment to be like, oh yeah, man, I had a rough relationship with my handmaid. I did some things to her that I really regret. And at first I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And she did things to me that she should regret. I'm like, oh no, this is going off the rails quite quickly. But she forgave me. I'm like, explicitly that she said no, she does not forgive you. And I know that because you think June's not there, you can just make up a lie that is not true. But like, come on.
I was really curious with that scene where it's like Serena knows that that's not true. Is she trying to convince herself that it's true? Is she just blatantly lying? It's so hard to get into how delusional this person
Oh,
is.
so
Yeah,
delusional.
you have to be so delusional. And I mean, we'll get into what happened later in a minute with her and Wharton, but just the idea that you're willing to put together the most insane, just outlandishly dumb wedding I have ever seen, that it's just like, how does how does all of this work? You got these commanders wearing these like ropes around their shoulders. It's just like, okay, you are not a part of the British royal family. Like, what are you people doing? It is all. This is one of the first times I really felt like The Handmaid's Tale was going almost to like a Succession level of satire, when it's just like,
Yes.
this is how dumb a lot of this world is, and it is so infuriating that these people want to be a part of this. And I think that's meant to amplify like all the fury that we feel within and how satisfying it is to watch this plan play out.
Yeah, it was like watching like a real serious group of people that were doing basically what was going on over on the Righteous Gemstones, where they were all like, we're part of the Capes and Pistols group, and we're all wearing these capes and holding these pistols with the ropes and the guys. Like, it shouldn't be taken this seriously.
No, it should not be taken. The whole thing is just so ridiculous and so over the top that my
It
what
was
I'm.
perfect.
It was perfect for the show, but it's also the perfect foreshadowing for what else is coming up here for Serena down the road, because she does her whole holier than thou speech. She's clearly okay with the pomp and circumstance of this wedding, which
Yep.
allows us to be bought into this idea that she really is so delusional that this entire wedding is so obviously pure Gilead, and yet
Yes.
she somehow thinks in her weird warped brain that she can then go with Wharton to the wedding night and there's not going to be a handmaid there. When that handmaid is there, I just looked at the handmaid, I looked back at her in the scene, and I was just like, see? See? I didn't even have words anymore. I was just like, what is wrong with you?
Listen, I knew that it was going to come out at some point. I didn't know that it was going to be as soon as the wedding night. I was really shocked that there was a handmaid on the wedding night. Like, he didn't even wait till the next day or a week later. It was the wedding night. Like, at that point, it was just like mask off. Like, I've done all these things for you. I've bent over backwards for all your crazy views. Like, you can give me something. Oh, well, I'm fertile. Yeah, but you're just one person. Like, we're here to repopulate. So, like, you can give me a baby. She can give me a baby. Everybody give me a baby. I was just like, wow, that just mask slipped so fast. And, watching Serena try to get out of this situation where she's like, I'm just going to take my baby and leave, and having Wharton just block the door. I was very curious how this was going to go. Is this really going to be a situation where he's going to keep her prisoner there? How was he going to deal with it? Because he really feels like he's not a bad guy. He's really like, listen, like, I don't believe everything that you're about. You don't believe everything that I'm about, but I've tried to make concessions for you, for your things, so you can make some concessions for me, for my things. I am not a bad husband. Well, you're keeping me locked in here. Okay, move.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wharton wants to leave and lets her leave. And it really does make you sit back and kind of be like, where really is Wharton in all of this? Is this all part of the plan to then just dismantle New Bethlehem? Yeah, that feels like part of it. But does he also believe what he's saying, where he's like, yeah, I've made concessions for you. You can make concessions for me. That's what marriage is about. What do you think was going to happen?
Maybe this is why he and Serena decided to get married in the first place. That they're
both just high on their own sauce.
Yeah, they're both just unbelievably delusional about everything that exists around them. Like, I think Wharton clearly wants the establishment of old Gilead to exist in some shape or form. Like, you are not a good guy, Wharton. You are lying to yourself. You are not a good husband, but you want to believe still that you're better than these other commanders, that you're quote unquote different, because I think you think that you can have your cake and eat it too, where it's a situation where it's like, okay, maybe I won't be as bad as some of the other commanders are, and maybe I will set a good example while still doing a lot of the other terrible things. Like, even introducing this handmaid is, oh, here's the most fertile woman we could find. It's like, ew, what's wrong with you? That's gross. And it's just
wedding night.
Yes,
guy. Oh my God.
You are just not, you're not any better, and you're just convincing yourself that you are, and you're convincing Serena that you are. And I think you think now that letting Serena go is going to be a pass, that then she's going to convince herself that it's like, okay, he let me leave. Maybe the handmaid won't be there. Maybe I just have to educate him slowly over. And it's just like, Serena, the longer you put up with all of this and continue to be a part of this charade, the even more I'm just going to laugh at you in my head. Like, I already don't feel sorry for you because
No.
not only did you make the bed, you went and you got some accent pillows, you got the bed sheets embroidered, like you did all of these different things to prepare yourself for your new delusional life, and there were 200 ways you could have avoided it.
And how far is she gonna get? She ate that cake too. So, she's holding her baby and running out the door. I'm just like, how much time does she have before she's face down in the street? And Noah's also face down in the street, waiting for somebody to come help him because he didn't eat the cake.
I feel like in the world of vast TV coincidences, we'll probably see June or some other handmaid like go along with her, and I'm going to be very curious at that point if Serena's going to be like, okay, maybe I actually will go along with this, or no, you're still not following the teachings correctly. I'm still going to cling to something.
I feel like it's going to be June because here's my beef with this
All
episode.
right,
It
let's
is
do it.
one beef, and the beef is that June is the person that killed Belle. You guys let me know in the comments how you feel about it, but I feel that this is a missed opportunity. I feel that this would have been a very powerful moment for Janine to take her power back by being the person who actually gets to kill Belle and get out of this situation herself. Back in the day when we first met Janine needed a lot of help. She needed a lot of rescuing. June was always there for her. So I understand why the writers decided to go in this direction. Just one more time. We'll get June out here to help her out. Oh, thanks. You did this for me. Great. I just feel like Janine has taken some of her power back and she has gotten stronger and stronger. Being at Jezebel's
Mhm.
made her even stronger, like being able to stand up to Aunt Lydia the way she did and took that power back. I'm not saying everybody is a killer, but this is a different circumstance. And the things that Belle has done to her, I feel like Janine would have been able to do this and would have been able to take some of her power back by being the person that actually killed Belle. So for me, I was disappointed to see that June just came in to be the hero again when I feel Janine could have done that herself. And it would have been a much more powerful moment for me.
It's a very fair criticism because, well, I'll admit, when I first watched the episode, I wasn't too actively on my mind, but then hearing you say this after the fact, it's like, yeah, I agree with you. It should have been Janine because it just feels like it would have been an even bigger moment. And I think sometimes The Handmaid's Tale gets a little bit too obsessed with having June be the person who solves all the
Right.
problems and takes out all the people. And I think that it would have been an immensely satisfying moment. Yeah, like obviously, I'm glad that Commander Bell is dead. That guy was the worst. He deserved to go.
Yes.
I'm glad he was taken out. But this is also one of those situations where it doesn't feel like it would have been that hard to write it in that Janine is the person who does it. I
Right.
think it could have been a situation where she's just found a little bit earlier. Belle passed out at a certain point and they can figure out. And Janine would have been more than happy, in my opinion, to be able to do this given everything that happened with him at Jezebel's and then also what happened to all of the other women at Jezebel's, where it was hardly an ideal place, but it was a place
Yes.
where Janine felt like, she had affection for the other women there and she cared for them. And that was just this really traumatic situation for her.
Yeah, I felt like she could have been the hero in her own story at this point in the whole Handmaid's story, where she is able to take out the person who is doing this to her. Like, June could have been there and been like, hey, this is what we did. He's eating this cake. He's out. This is what we're all doing. Do you want to participate? Absolutely, I want to participate. Give me that knife.
Yeah, I that's the one biggest misstep in this episode that I can think of. There's some other choices that are almost like a lack of choices that I was pretty happy with. Like, for example, Nick. Like, there was this big part of me coming into this episode where I was thinking, okay, are the writers really going to set this up that this episode is going to be the quote unquote redemption of Nick? And I don't need to see Nick redeemed. Like, he's made his choices, he's got to live with his choices. But I'm glad they didn't do that much with him in this episode because it's sort of, I want it to be more of a situation here where it is June and Moira and these other people, and even to some extent Lawrence, who are going along with this. And then maybe Nick kind of ends up being the person who arrives really late to the party, and he's just like, "Hey guys, I brought some drinks. How's everything?" And then everybody else is like, "The party's over, Nick. You can go home. You were not helpful. As a matter of fact, you tried to keep the party from happening."
This was an interesting episode for me with Nick, but not in the way that I thought.
Okay.
Obviously, I've been watching this for all these seasons.
Yeah.
This is a very religious society where, Gilead's all based on God and this religion and everything. And it took me until this episode to realize that there are no priests in this whole society, because it's been very focused on handmaids, Marthas, the commanders, whatever, that this is kind of one of the first times that we've had like a huge wedding like this where we're in at this big church. And I'm like, oh, okay, Nick is getting up there and giving the speech. And I was just like, where are all the priests? And then I was kind of like, okay, I guess there is nobody that's kind of running the religion. It's the commanders.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that either.
I hadn't. I was like, oh, wow, I'm late to the game, guys.
Well, because there was even a part of me that was like in my brain, it's like, okay, maybe he's having Nick do the speech because, it's his son-in-law.
Maybe.
But at the same...
But also, then where are all the priests? And I was just like, I don't think they're there.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I didn't see any priests at the church. I didn't see anybody moseying around the wedding.
Right.
I didn't see any of that. But yeah, Nick, I'm glad you were not really a part of it. Maybe I would have wanted to see a little bit more Luke in this episode if I'm being super, super nitpicky about it. But at the same time, it's just what we got was so good. And I don't think we need to shoehorn too many more characters into something that it just ends up feeling a little bit cluttered.
Yeah, I didn't need to see Luke, because once we got everything really cooking with Aunt Lydia being like, yeah, I'm back from my trip and I'm here at the wedding and let's take a look around, and watching Aunt Janet, not a robot, come over and be like, oh, let's set her up with some steak and make sure you give her a big slice of cake. I'm like, yes, you get that done.
It was... once again, really, really entertaining watching all of this go down, because I continually try to trick myself with Aunt Lydia, because I've seen this relationship that Lydia had with Janine. And I think because of that, there is this big part of me that had felt like, okay, she's maybe changed a little bit more than she actually has, especially her being there. And then after the fact, her then continuously imploring Aunt Janet, who I've apparently actually learned that her name is Aunt Phoebe. So there you go. That's her actual name. We will continue to call her Aunt Janet from here on out.
That's right. It's just a little inside joke.
But Aunt Janet is there, and we see she's trying to keep Lydia from going into the room. She's trying to keep it. And that was at that point, I was like, okay, Lydia, you really haven't, you're not that different. It's like, yeah, you have more affection for Janine, and I think you care about some of these women, but you care about the women through the lens of what it is you've been taught, and it doesn't really have anything to do with their actual well-being or their future.
No, because oh man, whoever set up that shot of her looking down under the pews and all the cake, you deserve a clap. That was so well done, to see her face and the realization and seeing all those plates of cake. It was so intense that when she went back and she sees that all the handmaids are in bed, but they've all got the covers up, and she's like, pulls it down, sees they're still all in their clothes. She realizes that something is not right. She is giving them the Lydia special, where she is screaming her face off. She's got the guard in there with this gun. They're all afraid and cowering on the ground. I'm just like, she's still exactly the same. Even when Moira stands up and Lydia's basically like, who are you?
Yeah.
She's just like, are you kidding me, Aunt Lydia? Who am I? Oh my God. At that point, I was really feeling it is Janine. Janine is the girl that she cares about the most, that she doesn't care about all her girls, because here's Moira being like, you don't remember me? I thought you cared about all of us. You clearly don't care about me.
Yeah. This sequence, and I can't think of how long the scene with Lydia was in my brain, if it was 4 or 5 minutes, but this is the best 4 or 5 minutes of the whole season to me. The whole Moira part of it, the
so good
surprise of them all wearing the outfits, all of this then leading into Janine showing up. And if there was anybody who was going to get through to Lydia, it was her. And the greatness of Ann Dowd, who I cannot say enough about how much I love Ann Dowd and the performance that she gives in this scene.
Oh, her screaming, "Where's June Osborne?" Chills.
We had that whole terrifying part of her. Then Janine shows up, and then there's the heartbreak, and then there's the realization, and then the choice of not actually having Lydia, this character who was so loud, not say all that much at all when the other handmaids are leaving, and it is just like her embracing Janine and all that. And I more chills, like complete chills watching this scene. And it's like sometimes if you're a great performer, you know you can say a lot without even saying much of anything at all. And it's just Andow's face is so good, and she just emotes. I could talk about that scene for an hour. I loved it.
I loved it so much. It was so well done. The only thing that was really kind of getting me in that scene is that there was a guard there with a gun, and I'm not exactly sure why he let anybody leave, that he didn't take care of the situation, that he didn't just start shooting Aunt Lydia, shooting all the handmaids, call for more help. Like, none of that happened. I thought that was really weird. And I feel like if that guy was sort of plucked out of the situation, that this would have been a much more powerful scene. But I think I was really distracted by the fact that there was an actual guard there that was just like, oh, we're letting them all go, aces.
I wish we knew more about. I wish we
Like,
knew more about.
why is that guy okay with this?
I wish we knew more about that guard. It's like, okay, is that guard in on something? Is he get something more going on? Where's the guards? Well, it's a good point.
Yeah, I was feeling like at that point, yeah, was he in on it? But then I was like, well, he's not, because Aunt Lydia was like,
Yeah.
told him what to do, point the
Yeah.
gun over at Moira, and he did. So I was just like, okay, so he's with Aunt Lydia, but like, and that's fine if he's keeping everyone under control. But the minute that Aunt Lydia is letting everybody go, I'm like, why is this guy just letting that happen?
Okay, I'm gonna have. I'll come up with two in the moment possible explanations, which probably aren't gonna land. Number one, maybe he was so emotionally moved by what he saw,
Maybe.
that he was just like, okay, or maybe this guard's a coward. Like maybe this guard
Oh,
got so
maybe.
afraid that he's just like, oh, I don't want to do it. But no, it's weird, and it's not something like it's again I was really thinking about, but it makes a little bit of sense. And I think what makes the whole course of this episode so interesting is just that we see all of these big moves that are made, and we see
Yeah.
like the beginning of this real legitimate revolution where all these handmaids are out there, they're ready to make some moves, they're ready to take people out. And it's like at the same time though, in the midst of all this, the only like reasonably big character we actually lost through all this episode is Commander Bell, who we didn't even know until this season. So it's like there's been a lot of movement, but there actually wasn't that much resolution.
Yeah, I mean, we see all the handmaids at the end of this sort of like running off in different directions and trying
Yeah.
to figure out where to go next and what to do. Like, that's my big question now. It's like, okay, they've killed off a bunch of the high commanders.
Yeah.
Nick is still alive, everything, Wharton is still alive, like everything, some of the biggest players are still alive. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay, they took out some of them, but how did nobody go over and take care of Wharton? Like, this is his wedding, and all the handmaids there, nobody went to go take care of him. Like, is this new handmaid that's there, I think her name is Christine, taking care of everything when he falls asleep? Like, why is he not taken out?
It's a very interesting question. And this leads me to another question. How long does this sleeping cake work? Because it's kind of the situation now. Everybody has a very limited amount of time
Right.
to do whatever it is they're going to do
Yes.
with the rest of these commanders. And
Yeah.
it's not like they're going to be able to fundamentally change all of Gilead in one night anyway, because it's a very, very large position. And so they can kind of get some ducks in a row. But then there's the other questions like, okay, what do you do now? Like, is this a real opportunity to escape? And then you're going to have resources standing by to help you do that. Like, I think that's probably going to be where Luke and some other people factor into this plan
Yeah.
a little bit more. But then that may be enough for some of the handmaids, and understandably. But at the same time, you have characters like June, like Janine, who have children who are still a part of Gilead. And I kind of feel like for them, that's still going to be the priority. Like, that's still going to be the push. And how do you find a way then to make that reunion happen?
Yeah, that's the thing is, they're getting some revenge, but it's on a smaller scale, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Gilead is huge. There's high commanders everywhere, right? So how do they really make more moves. We only have a couple episodes left, right?
Yeah, I this to me though just felt like a very cathartic episode in a lot of ways
Yes.
because it's just we've seen all of these women go through unbelievably terrible and traumatic things over the course of time, and even if it's just a small release because Gilead's still there, you know, some of the commanders are still alive, like there's still a lot of danger. It's just nice to see them have a win, and it's like maybe this is a lot of what the cast was saying leading into this season, saying, okay, you will feel some joy watching parts of it. And I felt some joy in this episode. And I'm really, really grateful that we had it.
Watching Lawrence push his wife to eat cake, the joy that I feel like I'm going to have in the next episode, and oh my goodness, please make this happen, is that he knew that his wife was going to eat that cake and he's going to let Janine take her kid.
I think there's a good chance of it. Like it's hard.
Lawrence, do the right thing,
I
man.
know
Come on.
he's so hard to read a lot of the time that it's like I never want to put all of my trust in him, but I certainly believe that he is a better man than I'm a good man, High Commander Wharton. Like Lawrence is definitely not perfect. He's done some bad things, but I
Yes.
think he does have a little element of a moral compass. So I think it's at least possible.
Yeah, and right now he is in the spot that he thinks he's going to die. So,
Yes.
I mean, he's motivated.
He's the desperate man, and you know what? If you're Mayday, you take whoever you can get at this point.
Yeah.
But that is where we are coming out of this just exceptional Handmaid's Tale season 6 episode 8. So
Amazing.
let us know, what did you enjoy the most about this episode? What questions do you have? Let us know in the comments. We love hearing from you guys, and you can support us more by hitting that subscribe button and joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We are covering exclusively there in video form Murderbot, premiering very soon on Apple TV Plus, and
Yeah.
also Criminal Minds Evolution. Thank you so much.
Thank
We will
you.
see you here next time.